suburbs of Atlanta. Yeah, I saw that. You were the one in Hawaii that stuck out to me way on the other side. It's still early in the day there. I'll be done with trading before the sun came up. I was surprised to see you were still up, Stig. But pleased to have you here with us. Well, remember what we were talking about the other day? Or you sent an email to Connor and I commented on it? We're going to touch on that just a little bit today. And then more on Saturday. Is that why you came? Because you knew? You came just because of the entertainment value? I don't blame you. That's why I come too. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about reactive trading today. And why reactive? Um, we don't do a lot of it is possible, but it's probably not going to be what you think it is, or what you assume it to be. But by all means, it's possible, and not very hard. The hardest part is learning how to think differently, because you come into trading with these assumptions and expectations about trading, and most people can never get over that, so they struggle. Fortunately, we have some folks here that have joined us in our VIP program. They've taken it to heart, they do the hard work, and they've seen some really good success. Man, I feel your pain. I did it. I did it. All right, let's get started, and then we can talk about that more. I actually worked my way through it, and I did it by changing the way I think. All right, so maybe we got something in here for you, and then if this isn't enough for you, we've got a lot more. So hang tight. Let's get through this, and then we can talk more about your struggles, Solomon. All right, so we're going to get started now. One of the rules that we have here, one of the things that we do normally is I don't read the chat. In fact, I am covering the chat now, and I'm not seeing anything else that's coming through the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. Lisa and Connor are here to help answer questions. They're very good traders. Connor also is a moderator in the trade room, knows the answers inside and out. So feel free to ask any questions you like in the chat. Just know that I'm not going to read them. And if you're commenting something to me, I won't see it. If you want to ask me something specifically, hold it until the end, and then ask me again at the end, and I'll see if we have time to answer your questions. A lot of the questions I'll divert until Saturday. Okay, we do have another event coming up on Saturday that's going to follow up nicely with this. Okay, so reactive trading. Reactive trading is the way I think of it as something pretty different from what most people do. Most people are going to do a lot of analysis throughout the trading day. And they're going to be analyzing what they think is going on the charts to try to figure out what might be happening next. They're going to put in an awful lot of time studying the charts, watching watching the financial channels, watching the news, uh, um, you know, anticipating breakouts based on trend lines. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of traders do to stay very active and busy during a trading day. And ultimately, what I found is that that didn't really lead me to any huge successes by putting that much effort uh, into what we do. So we developed this bunt style of trading that all we do is sit and wait and then react when a set of conditions exist. So you'll hear us talk about it in the trade room as it's just waiting for the bus. Because that's really how much effort. Once we know and understand what's going on in the markets, what we're taking advantage of, what our edge is, then all we have to do is wait for all of the conditions to exploit that edge to exploit that edge to be in place, and then it pulls up just like a bus. If it's our bus, we simply get up, we get on the bus, and off we go. There's no studying traffic to see if maybe this type of traffic will generate a bus. There's no hoping for a bus. There's no trying to assemble your own bus. There's no running around out in the street trying to tackle a bus that maybe go in the other direction. We don't do any of that. We simply wait for the bus to pull up and we get on it. All right, so a little bit about me for those of you that don't know. Most of you know me. I've been around for a long time. I was a remodeling contractor, decided that trading looked a heck of a lot easier than what I was doing. So I decided, I'm gonna give up this contractor business that took me 20 years to reach this level of income where I am, and I expect in just a few short months I'm gonna master this trading thing, and then I won't have to work so hard. Well, 7 years and not quite 5 full accounts blown, but a good solid 3 and working on my 4th. I struggled and struggled and struggled, and then something really big happened. And since then, I've been a full-time trader, and that turned into being an educator and a system developer. So I really enjoy the development and the educational part way more than the trading part. But we all got to do what we got to do to make a living. So I trade every morning in the trade room, right along with all the rest of our traders. So, and really all that entails is sitting and waiting, which is typically a pretty boring thing, but that's what it takes to be successful. You may have heard that trading needs to be boring if you're going to be good at it, and that's certainly what it is. So we're going to talk about on Saturday, we're going to expand on what I'm going to be talking to you about today. We're going to be talking about a simple trade setup using order flow and divergence. Now, we call that our rock star trade setup. So if you see that on here, we're going to talk about all this today. You can see this confluence of events. This is our bus. This is the bus that pulls up, and all we have to do is wait for this confluence of events. Here's an event, here's an event, here's a different event, a totally different event. Here's a couple of events. Okay, all of these are suggesting that something is about to happen. We call that our rock star trade setup. Now, pay attention. We're going to be talking more about this rock star thing coming up. Okay, remember that. All right. So let's think about something for a minute. This reaction thing, this reactive trading. Is it better to try to figure out and understand how a huge group of people is going to react to something based on their thoughts, feelings, and emotions than it would be to find a smaller group of people acting suddenly to an unexpected stimulus? So you look at this group of people. How many combinations of thoughts, feelings, and emotions could they be having at this point? Probably millions. Now, how many thoughts, feelings, and emotions, or combinations of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, are going through this crowd's minds right now? Not many. And because we're able to narrow it down, because we're able to tell that, we don't have to sift through so much data to know and understand what's going to happen next. And that's all that we need to know in trading, right? In trading, all we need to know is what's likely to happen next. Without seeing a video of this or anything, and for those of you that have been through this, you already know. You know what's going to happen next just from this screenshot. I can see it just like it was a video because I know that there are very few thoughts, feelings, and emotions here. They're probably fear of injury and protect from harm, and that's pretty much it. But I do know what's likely to happen after this. When the danger has passed, my edge is knowing what they're likely to do next, and that is that they're going to put their hands down. As simple as that, that's an edge. What they're doing 5 minutes from now, I don't know. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes from now, I have no idea what other influences there are going to be on these people to make them change their mind or make them do something. But I do know right now that I have an edge if I had to place a bet on what they're going to do next. They're going to put their hands down after the fear of injury has passed. Okay? So this was a big aha for me. I have this new perspective on trading, a clear understanding of what I wanted to create, these aha moments that we do now in our VIP series. These aha moments are something that when I started getting this more clear understanding of what it was I was trying to do, and a better way to exploit it. So these doors started opening for me. From a struggling trader to one little door would open, and I'd go through that door and I'd realize, hey, there's more doors here. And I go through that door and that door, and I had all of these ahas that at the time I didn't really know I was having. But in hindsight, I realized that those were major turning points for me to turning my miserable trading career into something profitable. So I decided, rather than try to anticipate what a crowd is thinking over a long period of time, why don't I try to anticipate what a crowd will do immediately after a sudden and unexpected event? Well, what does that look like? Well, for you, you might see a chart that looks something like this. For me, I see a crowd that's going to react to a stimulus in a predictable way, and I know what they're likely to do next. This is exactly how we've built our trading system. I see something sudden and unexpected happen, culminating in a lot of data suggesting something's likely to happen next. This sudden and unexpected event was this big push up right here. And these indicators that are popping on that I'm going to talk to you about in a few minutes. This was the sudden and unexpected event. This was their hands going up. This is what happened next. Okay? So it's the same thing. What you see in that picture and what you see on that chart are the same thing. As long as you know what you're looking at and you have tools to help you see it. So for those of you that haven't seen this, I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because a lot of you have seen it. This is a very popular video on YouTube on volume spread analysis that I did. But the essentials of this are that the big boys, the market makers, are constantly manipulating the markets in their favor, and they do it over and over and over to us because we fall for it every single time they do it. And they have a very distinct advantage because they can operate with a lot of stealth. They have enough money to corner the markets and then manipulate price any way they want to because they're the largest asset holder of the whatever the asset is. And so what happens here is that we have this area of accumulation where the market makers are going to be buying up at the lowest, at this, what they think is a bargain price, but they're going to do it very quietly, very stealthily. And you and I are thinking, well, the markets are dead today, but actually what's going on is these guys are doing their job, buying as much of this asset as they can. Then they're going to there's going to be a markup phase, and it's generally seen by these big upthrust bars, followed by a pullback, and then they're going to do it again, and then a big upthrust bar and a pullback. Go look at any trading chart. You'll see this. Anything, just go look at today's trading chart. I haven't gone back and looked at the bigger picture, but I guarantee you this happened because it happens every day. Then we get into this area here where they do the opposite, where they were accumulating very slowly and stealthily. Now they're going to be distributing. And they're going to do that very slowly and stealthily so that we don't know what's going on. At the very end of that, they've made all of their profits here. Okay, that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. They think, I used to hear people say things about stop hunters were out there taking people's stops out, and that's how they make money. That's absolutely not that's a consequence of what they do, but it's certainly not their intentions and how they make money. They're not out there looking for your stops. They don't give a crap about that because they've already got your money. All right. So this is where they make all their profits. They did all their buying up here. They make all their profits up here. Now they're not finished though. They're going to sell. They're going to make all their distributions here. They're going to make all their money in here. But they're still the largest holder of this asset, so they can still control it. So the very last thing they want to do is flood the market. After they push the price up, they flood the markets and they dump everything off. Well, what happens then? Price overwhelms demand. Demand becomes so great. That the supply becomes so great that demand just eats it up, right? And down it goes. So and then they do it again, right? So this is very typical. So these upthrust bars are what we're looking for, okay? Because it's a very common thing for them to push, and it happens quickly. And people get confused. And price invariably pulls back. Now, they don't just get confused. A lot of times they're taking profits here on these big upthrusts, okay? But let's back up a little bit. Now, I've given you kind of a little bit of an overview on why these upthrusts work and where they come from, okay? We're going to back up a little bit. We're going to do some 101 stuff here, and I want to make sure that all of us are on the same page. Many of us look at trading charts without ever knowing what it is exactly that we're looking at. Yet we're depending upon them to give us information to make educated decisions, but we really don't even know what we're looking at. So what is a trading chart? This is 101 stuff. This is stuff that a lot of us think we know, but maybe we don't. A trading chart is simply a graphical representation of what people or institutions are thinking about price of an asset at a particular point in time, and then it's a record of those prices over time. Okay? Uh-oh. Oh, my mic went out. Sorry. You can hear me now? Whoops, sorry. Okay. So all I did was repeat that all this is what people and institutions are thinking or feeling about the price of security. There is no real, I used to think there was a real logic behind what made price move, and that there were people out there that knew and understood things that I didn't. But it's driven by thoughts, feelings, and emotions. That's what drives price. And that's all a trading chart is the best way we know how to quantify thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So let's look at a typical trading chart and understand that it's just a measurement and a representation of feelings and emotions, okay? And these occasional manipulations to create these emotions so that there's a response to them that is predictable, okay? So that's what they're doing. They are creating these manipulations so that we'll act predictably. Now, having just heard and seen what I just showed you, you want to be able to pick up here where thoughts, feelings, and emotions are going to take over, where something sudden and unexpected may have happened, where price is likely to do something because the thoughts, feelings, and emotions at the time are limited. Okay? So let's look more closely. What's actually going on here? What's happening is when you see these big price moves, two things are happening. People are taking profits and people are getting hammered and stopped out. Okay? It happens in both directions, and it usually happens at one of these peaks, these swing highs and swing lows. Okay? We don't react with them. This is what they're doing. Okay? We wait for their reaction and then we react, because after they've done what they're going to do, we know what's likely to happen next. Okay? These people are putting their hands up to protect themselves from harm, or they're being greedy, or that's just part of their trade plan, and they're taking profits, or they're getting stopped out and beat up. Okay? But it was sudden and unexpected, and they reacted to that, and then we react by knowing what's likely to happen next. Okay? So we have all of these indicators to help us determine when these events are likely to happen. Okay, so we look for a confluence of indicators. Now, we've got some videos that you won't see me pulling out trading charts very often, just to show you my static charts. And there's a reason for that. I bet you've been to webinars where the guy sits there and most of the webinar is involved with him doing his pointer around on charts and scrolling around on charts and saying, oh, look at this, and this is what I did here, and oh, and this, and all, look at all these indicators, and it looks so cool. And it makes so much sense until you actually try to do it, and then you realize, well, it doesn't work live like that. So I fell for that for many years. And I decided I'm just not going to do that. But what I will do is show you videos of actual trades, of actual trading that happened. I just went to our YouTube site. Oh, Connor, did you put in the, Connor, will you put the link to our trade of the day um, section on the YouTube? We'll give you a video link. So here's something that we do every day. We record our trade room every day, and we make this available to our VIPs for their study. We have a study program called the Fast Forward program, and it's very involved. It's a great way to teach people how to actually practice their trading. If you work during the day and you think, well, I can't learn this trading thing because I have to work during trading hours. We have a program built just for you that will help you get up to speed, but you can do it at night because you're going to trade right along with the trade room, but you do it in a recorded in a recording, and then we show you how to set up your trading domes and your charts, and you can trade right along with us in the trade room. So you can do it anytime you want. So that's why we do these recordings, but occasionally we'll just grab one and a trade that we took, and we'll just make a little video and we throw it up on YouTube. So what we're looking at here is for one of our trades, and I'm going to go over this in more detail for you, but this is very, very typical trade setup for us. This is our Speed Flash Rockstar. It's technically called the Speed Flash, but a lot of people call it the Rockstar. I apologize for the blurriness. This is because we record so much video and save all of it that we do it in a pretty low resolution so that we can save it all. Otherwise, the files get so monstrously big. But we've got terabytes of daily trade room videos that we save. So what we got here is we've got a strong push, we've got an oversold condition, we've got a trigger, a speed tick, and then we've got our divergent signal. Again, don't try to get to, that's me talking in the trade room, explaining that trade setup that we took. Okay, so I called that out ahead of time before I took the trade, and then I took the trade. That's generally how things work in the trade room. All right. So that was just part one. Now, don't forget, we have this event coming up on Saturday. You guys that are here with us today are actually registered for that event already. You don't have to re-register. If you're watching us on video, here's the link to go register for this event on Saturday. You're going to really like it. We're going to go into a lot more detail on what I'm talking about today. Now, what I'm talking about today is this setup, and what I'll be talking about in much more detail. This is all about order flow, which is what we're reading here, and divergence, what we're reading here. When you have divergence right after a strong order flow, very often you have this pullback, and that's our edge. That's all we're looking for. Now, one very smart man from Denmark once said to me, "Hey, Tony, why don't you take these signals, or some of these signals, and when they all come together at the same time, you create a single signal?" Like that. Again, not a static chart. Oh, this is supposed to, oh, well, it'll loop. I wanted to show you, I want you to pay attention when this star prints. The star prints on the open of the bar where you put your trade on. That star is this indicator, and these indicators. When they all say there's a positive condition exists, or all the conditions of confluence to suggest a pullback, then it prints. Now, you don't have to have this one or these because they're already inside this star, which is our new, brand new, not released yet, rock star indicator. I have to move the chat here. Stig, did you get that? It only took me 5 years to finally get around to getting that done. Now, it's even cooler than you guys think, because for those of you that are trading our Rockstar already, we have our super divergence indicator. And I'm going to go over this a lot more on Saturday. The Super D is inside this Rockstar. And you can select which divergences you want to use. But again, we're going to talk about this a lot more on Saturday. All right, so what's inside? Order flow. That's our speed tick. That order flow was the first thing I looked at when I was trying to figure out where these market manipulations were going on and how I could get a handle on them so that I would know what was likely to happen next. So I started looking at the time and sales window, trying to understand what was going on, because I probably read it on, I didn't come up with this on my own. I probably read it somewhere that said that the only way to know is by watching time and sales, and I read stuff about trading time and sales, and I tried everything that I'd read about. And watching time and sales for about 3 minutes, you get hypnotized, and it's all very fascinating, but I couldn't figure out how to turn that into actionable trade information. So I thought, well, there's something there, but I don't know what. So this was the very first indicator I had programmed, and I sent it off to a guy, and I said, here's what I want. I want to know, I want it to work like a speedometer. I don't want to know quantity. My interest is how fast the orders are being processed through the market, not orders placed, but orders processed. And at the time, it was just a theory. I had a hypothesis, but he put it together for me quickly, and sent it back, and I put it on a chart, and bam, it was almost immediate. It was the most amazing thing that it worked so well. All I had to do was look across at the high peaks and then look up from the high peaks, and I could see that when we had those high peaks, price stopped and turned. So I was able to pick up. I actually talked to a guy after I developed this. I talked to a guy that was a floor trader, and I said, here's what I've done, and here's what I've come up with. And he goes, yep, you nailed it. That's exactly what's going on. So this is back when they had floor traders. That's how long ago I worked on this. So these peaks are telling me that the markets are likely to be being manipulated at that point in time. And if I know that, then I know what to expect next. People's hands go down. They go up when the markets are being manipulated. People react to that. They're either jumping in or jumping out of trades. And then I'm going to wait until they do all their stupid stuff, and then we go in right after that. Now, as I was developing that, I also noticed that when orders, maybe they didn't hit that speed on the speedometer like on the speed tick, but they still picked up speed quickly. Like notice down here, we have these little tiny bars on this histogram, and then suddenly, whammo. These, again, are all related to speed. Think of it like a motorcycle going from 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds. So maybe it didn't hit 100 miles an hour to generate a speed tick, but it went from 0 to 60 to generate a ricochet. Very common we get a pullback after that ricochet. Divergence. How many of you have heard about divergence, tried to use divergence, never could get divergence to work because it's too hard to see. It's just too complicated. You may have, for those of you that don't know what divergence is, typically you're going to measure the swing highs of price or the swing lows. And the swing highs and swing lows of a momentum oscillator, like this is the MACD. This one's the RSI. So you're going to measure those against each other. The most common occurrence is for them to run together. Price and momentum will generally be in agreement with each other. When they get out of agreement is when we have what's called divergence. The funny thing about divergence is that when we can find divergence and when we can pick it up, we know what's likely to happen next because price almost always follows momentum. Now, that's the short version. A lot of us have attempted to trade divergence, but we found it very difficult because we end up finding an indicator and it does this. It draws these lines. This was my attempt to trade divergence when I went and downloaded an indicator. And I got these lines that printed like 3 bars late. And I still couldn't trade divergence, even though I knew it was powerful. And I knew it was powerful because somebody told me it was. And they believed in it. So I believed everything I heard. I'd go to webinars and I'd read forums. And I just believed everybody was a better trader than I was because I was so bad. And I figured, well, because of that, everybody is so much smarter than me. I need to listen to everybody. So I heard that divergence was extremely powerful, but I never could figure out how to trade it. So in short order, I just quit using it. But I went back to it when I started thinking about what we're doing here with our bunt trading and our reactive trading. And I studied it some more. And I actually got to the point where I studied it so much, I developed an algorithm. Actually, I had a premise. I had to send it to a guy that actually knew how to develop algorithms. I had an idea about how this should work. He developed the algorithm and developed the indicator. So now instead of all these lines and all this other stuff we have to try to figure out, now all we have to do is just look up on the screen and we know exactly when we have a divergent condition and what's probably going to happen next. All right, and then we apply, first of all, this is the RSI, this is our flash. And then we apply the same algorithm to the MACD. So we got all these signals for the MACD. Look what happens when you have divergence. Price stops and turns because price almost always follows momentum. So we took that the next step. It works so well with those two momentum oscillators. We added 5 more. And that's our Super D indicator. Now, inside the Super D, you can determine which one of the 1 or 7 of the oscillators you want to use. You can use all 7 if you want. And then pick the ones you think work best for what you're doing. Now, when I developed the Super D, it was always intended to be the first half of a new indicator. And that new indicator was what we finally are about to release. So we've had the Super D out for a while, and we're finally putting it together to create the Rockstar setup indicator. So here's another trade of the day. These are ones that Connor moderates the room after I get off in the mornings, and these are some that Connor did. These are straight speed tick trade setups. But again, I'm showing you these things these charts and stuff. But notice what happens. This stuff happens in real time all the time in the trade room. We have a strong push here. Price stopped, hit the support, opened here, bounced. There's our profit. And you can see people start taking profits. They start typing them in the room when they take profits. All right, I'm going to go over this with you on how this works. But more importantly, I want you to understand that all of these videos are on YouTube. We have so many videos. We have so much information for you to look at on YouTube. We're not shy with providing videos. All right, so we have more indicators to help us with support and resistance. They work really well as part of our trade setups. We use to help identify exhaustion. Overbought and oversold is about the best way to identify when price is getting exhausted. When price gets exhausted, what happens? It generally slows down and stops and rests for a while. And that rest usually means a bit of a pullback. So if we can combine the exhaustion of overbought and oversold with the understanding that something sudden and unexpected happened and people are likely to react a certain way, and we have a major area of support and resistance that price is not likely to have enough strength to get through, then that gives us an edge, right? So we use these oboes, but we don't use this oscillator. This is the way people typically read oboes, or overbought, oversold. All we want to know is when price exceeds these extremes. We don't want to know, we don't need any of this other information. So why do I need this oscillator on my chart? Just to tell me when we're overbought or oversold. So we remove this and we put right on the bars, right where you're looking, when price is overbought or oversold. Part of what we do is try to make something very difficult, complex, very easy. And a lot of people get confused. This is another one. This volume spread analysis is very complex. And we spend a lot of effort making that very complicated, difficult thing very easy to understand and use. We all know, if you've been in trading for any period of time, you know how easy it is to make things complicated in trading. So we spend an awful lot of time to make the very complicated very easy to use. This is our volume spread analysis indicator. We call it our pullback alert. And essentially, we're reading exactly what's going on over here. And it reads volume that's coming into every single bar. And when we get to a certain type of volume, we print this little indicator to tell us that because this type of volume, I'm going to go into this on Saturday, this type of volume that's coming into this bar suggests that the buyers were very active and then got less active while the sellers really got active. Well, when that happens, price may not drive price down immediately, but eventually things get very weak and the sellers get the chance to take over because the buyers are exhausted. They push, they're exhausted. Sellers take over, drop the price at least for a while. All right, and that's if you want to go look on YouTube, we have a volume spread analysis video, and part of this is that chart, that that I went over earlier. It's part of that volume spread analysis video. Okay, so this bunt trading thing we do. We've gone to great lengths to make something very complicated, very simple, to the point where it's nothing more than waiting on a bus. It's a step-by-step process. If condition 1 exists, then we look for condition 2. If condition 1 doesn't exist, then we sit and wait. We've made it to condition 2. Okay, you have my attention. Now we're going to wait for condition 3 to exist. If it doesn't exist, we go back to waiting for the bus. Right? Simple as that. It's either yes or no. Does it exist or not? If not, continue waiting until all of them set up at the same time. Bus pulls up, we get on it. All right, so what's the first step? We're looking for strong momentum. Why do we look for strong momentum? This is our momentum indicator. You can see where the bars start turning black and then they get lighter in color. Very seldom do they get completely white, but they do. So what does this tell us? We know, and there's very few things we know about the market, but we know that a strong push cannot and will never be sustained. It will always run out of gas. And when it does, it's going to slow down and stop and pull back and rest. Now, what it's going to do after that, I don't know. But I know that it's going to hit the brakes and it's going to turn. So if I have a very strong momentum, I know the probability of exhaustion setting in has become much higher. So I want to read momentum. And I want to see a strong push. I want to see prices changing a lot within a bar. We're going to call that a high velocity bar. I want to see an overbought or an oversold condition. All right, I showed you that on the Obos indicator. Again, price is likely to be very weak. It's push, push, push. We're now in an oversold condition. It's very unlikely that price is going to be able to push much further until it backs up and retraces. We have our ricochet indicator suggesting that there's potentially a manipulation in place. We can see that the sellers were in charge, but then the buyers took control, looking at our pullback alert. And we have our major support and resistance behind what would potentially be our trade. All right? And that's there as a safety net. Talk about this more on Saturday. Then we have a divergence signal and our speed tick. That's our rock star. My trade would be right here. I would enter this trade on this bar. If I was lucky, I'd get it as it backed up a little bit. But I would enter this trade on this bar. At the open of the bar if possible. And it works more times than it doesn't. All right, so very typical trading chart. You just look at the chart. Now, with what I've taught you, with what I've told you today, you can probably figure out where our advantages are. Probably not in here because we're kind of drifting around. The bars are all about the same size. Nothing major dramatic. So let's add some indicators to that. This is our super divergence indicator. Tells us how many different oscillators are saying that we have divergence. Two different oscillators here, 2 of the 7, 5 of the 7 here, 1 of the 7, 3 of the 7, okay? And then our speed ticks, okay? Suggesting that these particular bars are being manipulated by the big boys, by the smart money. So we have this combination of manipulation and divergence, okay? So this tells us it's very likely that because these bars are being manipulated and pushing up, they're running out of steam and they're doing that upthrust because they're about to throw all their contracts back on the market. The supply is going to overwhelm the demand and price is going to drop. And we have a divergent condition. So rather than have to combine all of these and understand what they're saying, we have our Rockstar trade set up and our Rockstar indicator. Now, talk about this more on Saturday. This does not tell you to take a trade. This doesn't say, oh, here's a trade, push the button. Okay, everybody's looking for that. Everybody wants to remove themselves from being accountable and wants everything to be done mechanically, so all you have to do is push the button. I wish it were so easy. We're doing everything we can to make it as easy as we can. But all I can do is generate signals of when particular conditions exist, and under those conditions, it's typical that price does something expected. Okay, that's all these do. That's all any indicator does. So I am not suggesting that this is an auto trader or something where you just sit there until you get a signal and you push the button and you go back to watching, Facebook or YouTube or whatever. But it does make it much easier, particularly for those trying to learn the system, to understand where these confluences of events are and to see them and to react to them. Okay? So that star is our Rockstar indicator that we're going to be releasing soon. Notice what happens right after the Rockstar. All right, got one more of our trade of the day that I downloaded from YouTube. Very simple. And this is what I just showed you, right? We have exhaustion, or the momentum. See these dark bars? Getting great. We have this oversold condition, this blue. Again, sorry for it's blurry. Hopefully you can see this. It's blue outline that tells us that we're oversold. We have our speed tick, which suggests that this bar is probably being manipulated by the big boys. And we have divergence on the open of this bar. And we're using our low of the day as support. This is where we enter the trade, is on the open of this bar. And this is very, very typical. Okay? This is what we see very often in the trade room. This is what we wait for. This is our bus. All right. So don't forget, this Saturday, we're going to go over a lot of what we talked about today, but in more detail. Certainly going to be showing you more of the Rockstar and how it develops and prints in real time. See how it prints on the open of that bar? I didn't do that on a video thing. I didn't fake that. That actually came off the chart. So that's the same thing as several of these indicators here. Not all of them, but several of them combined to give us that signal right there. Now, if you want to come hang out with us in the trade room, just let us know. We'll give you a free week. Just sign up here, Bunt at theintentionaltrader.com. And for those of you that came today, we've got a couple of specials for you. Now, here's a special that's kind of important right about now. This is our VIP special. And it's important right about now because we're about to release this new indicator that we've been talking about, the Rockstar indicator. VIPs get all new indicators that we develop for the trade room for free. There is no additional charge. Anybody who's not a VIP has to pay for the new indicator. Um, the cost of the VIP program will, of course, go up as soon as we include the new indicator in the package. So my recommendations are for those of you, we've had a lot of people, particularly lately, checking in to see how much it is to upgrade to VIP. Right now, I can promise you it's as low as it will ever be, because as soon as we add this new indicator to the mix, it's going to go up a little bit or a lot, depending on Lisa, depending on what kind of mood she's in. Excuse me. So we're doing the VIP package has the entire bundle of indicators, including the super divergence and the Rockstar. We have unlimited trade room access. We have all future indicators. We have a weekly group mentoring session called the Aha Moments. I talked about that briefly. You get priority support. Whenever we see the VIP sends in support requests, they always go to the front of the line. The trade room video replay for your practice. We have our fast forward training program for you to. We teach you how to learn to accelerate your education. Sitting in a trade room is not how you get, or sitting and looking at charts during trading hours is not how you gain experience. It is a way to gain experience, but it's not the most efficient way. We teach you how to maximize your time to still learn things the best way possible, but not waste a whole lot of time sitting and doing nothing. So we have this fast forward program that we've designed for you that the VIPs get for free. All right, and then when you get to a certain point, we'll sponsor you in a Top Step Trader if you want to earn a funded trading account. It's like a tryout, and there's a cost involved, but we'll sponsor you when you feel like you're ready. Where's the sign up link, Lisa? Which sign up link? To buy? Right down here. intentionaltrader.com/pages/current specials. Now we do have another. This is actually this, and I know it says most popular, and you think, oh well, he just said that because that's the one he wants us to buy. No, it really is the most popular, and we have an awful lot of people that upgrade to the VIP over time, and we've had a lot of interest in the upgrade lately. Now, if you want to start out a little slower, you certainly can. We have our pullback bundle, which is all the indicators that we talked about today, and then a few more. We'll give you a month in the trade room, and we're going to knock that down to $17.70. You notice this little banner here in the bottom right corner. Funny story about that. We didn't know we were nominated and didn't know we won until sometime about midsummer. That we were voted one of the top trading rooms and best trading software. Had no idea. Nobody told us. We didn't even know we were in the running. We did know, and the reason we didn't even try was that what they want you to do is send out email blasts to all your people on your email list to go vote for you. And so I thought, well, that's what everybody's going to do, and we're just not going to do that. Well, so we didn't, so we ignored it, and we still won. So that was pretty cool. And we found out that way. So anyway, we're pretty proud of winning those the trade room and trading software awards. So we've got the VIP and we've got the pullback bundle. Both those specials. Contact us at bunt@theintentionaltrader.com. Now you can also, if you're ready to go, but you got Christmas coming up and whatnot, you can do the PayPal 6 months, no payments. If you can do that. If you want to do that. We have a lot of people that want to take advantage of that. Or you could just do a month in the trade room. No, you don't need a software for the trial, Mike. If you're just going to do the trial in the trade room, just hang out and watch us in the trade room. We don't do software trials, mostly because people really spend a lot of time or waste a lot of our time. Or what they do is they throw it up on charts and go, I don't know how to use this, and don't really try very hard. Yeah, the software is really easy, Solomon. We have an installer. So once you buy the software, we send you an installer file, and it installs everything for you. You don't have to do anything but just run the installer, and it'll install all the indicators, templates, and workspaces for you. So all you got to do is execute that file, and everything is set up and good to go. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, yeah, once it's uploaded to your computer, right, it'll happen. It doesn't matter. Now, if you want one of our guys to do it, just contact our support. And our support will log onto your computer and do it for you if you're more comfortable with that. So we've got this free week in the room, but of course the offer expires before then. So hopefully, if you want to do the free week, that's fine. We certainly understand that, but just know that the price is going up on this VIP. So we're kind of holding off on releasing the Rockstar, waiting for a few people that want to upgrade over the weekend or first part of next week. And then once we release it, the price of the VIP goes up. So just, and I don't mean to put your feet to the fire. I think that's kind of crappy. It just is what it is because of the timing. That's all. Guarantee if not happy with the program. Which program? I mean, with the software? If it doesn't work, yeah, certainly. Well, yeah, we refund it if it doesn't work. But if it doesn't do what we say it does, then yeah. But our indicators indicate. Now, what you do with them and how hard you work at learning how to use them, I can't control that. The indicators indicate when a condition exists. It's up to the trader to learn what that means and to exploit that. So if you're looking for something to do the work for you, you're probably not going to like this. Because all we do is tell you when conditions exist. Now, once you've learned what those conditions are and how they act, and you've practiced and you've used our fast forward program, and you've actually spent time working at this, and you still think it doesn't work, then we'll come on and make sure. Our support people will come on and make sure it's working, and make sure you've done the work, make sure you're using the fast forward program. You know, we're here to help you every step of the way. But if you're not going to do the work, then there's no point in even trying. Yeah, we use TeamViewer all the time. You have a week to hang out with us in the trade room. Yeah, you can't actually, use it on your own charts, but you can certainly watch it on our trade room. Now, you may come in for a week that we have a lot going on and it's a fun week and we have lots of trades going on, but then again, the markets dictate what we do. You may come in and the week that you decide to come spend time with us, the markets are just not moving in our favor. So we do a lot of sitting and waiting in those events. We do have more efficient ways for you to learn about us, though. Ask Connor or Lisa, and they'll send you some information where you can actually be more efficient with your time learning about us. The trade room, honestly, is the least efficient way because we don't know. we kind of offer it with a grain of salt because we know people want to come hang out in the trade room with us, but it's not really the most efficient way to learn because it could be a very slow week. We don't know. Yeah, speaking of Spain, I haven't seen you much lately, Maria. Good to see you back. Yeah, and they do work. And if that's Mike, if that's an issue with you, rather than putting them on your own computer and trying them, what if you talk to some of our other traders? And, I mean, we give you a list of dozens. We're not going to cherry pick one or two. We've got dozens of traders that would love to talk to you and answer your questions for you. That's how I find people to work on my house. I go ask my neighbors, is this guy any good? How's his work? What about the equipment he uses? Is that any good? So I ask people who have experience, and that gives me some level of comfort rather than just listening to the guy trying to sell me the HVAC system. Any other questions? Kind of ran out of time today. Hopefully you guys can all join us on Saturday. We'll go into a bit more detail on the specifics on how we place our trades and more information on the Rockstar. If we're staying up for, Stig? Better than TV anyway. I don't trade Forex. Although our indicators work very well on Forex and we have a lot of Forex traders, I personally um, only trade futures. Now that's an interesting question. You ask it. Ask Praveen. Praveen's our Australian uh, IT guy here. Futures, yeah. That's what we trade. The indicators and the bunt trading will work on a lot of things, but we trade mostly futures. Oh yeah, Eileen, we absolutely will install NinjaTrader for you and configure it and the whole thing. Yeah, Praveen's a real pro. People love working with him. Yeah, anything if whatever you guys. It's really funny because we're very customer oriented, and that may be because of my contractor background. Um, I know a lot of contractors aren't customer oriented, but uh, that's the cornerstone of the business. In fact, we have our help desk, and then we get people send us ratings on how helpful we were on our help desk, and I keep wanting to publish those somehow because they give us these 4 and 5 star ratings on our our support service, and we get a lot of them. And I'd love to be able to publish those somehow. But I'm very proud of my people and how we bend over backwards to make sure everybody's happy. Thanks, Ron. We don't hold anything long, Salman. The longer you're in a trade, the more speculative that trade is. Yeah, that's all you need to know. The edge from the current price. And I just showed you that. What's likely to happen right now? That's all we're waiting for. That's what we're looking for. That's our edge. And the faster I can exploit that and get out, the less dangerous that trade is. 1 minute. We use 1 minute charts. Yep, that's exactly it. Um, where do you live? You're in Hawaii. There's a baseball coach. I don't think he's there anymore. University of Texas, called Augie Garrido, and Lisa read one of his books, and that's kind of where the whole bunt trading idea came from. But yeah, bunt your way to a trading account versus trying to hit a bunch of home runs. Look up Augie Garrido. What was the name of that book, Lisa? Do you remember? I don't remember. That was several years ago. Yeah, I think he does. You can also watch him on YouTube. He's a hoot, man. He is funny. But yeah, we could have also called it piranha trading. We dart in, we get our little piece, and we dart back out. You're the second person to ask us that today. That's very interesting because we just had a conversation about that last week. We've actually been talking about it for about a month. We don't yet, and I'm not an early adapter to those types of things, but we have our eye on it. Mostly because the CME is going to start trading it, the futures contracts for Bitcoin. So we've got our eye on it. We want to make sure the data providers have it, and what the margins are and things like that. So we'll be looking at it. It's the up and comer. People are very excited about it, if people are excited about it, that means it's going to be a mover, and that's really all I care about. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'd like to see a little more structure to it. So, yeah, and if people are excited about trading it, that's going to make it a nice mover, a bit volatile, which is very important to that whole thing that I just showed you, right? Where price pushes real hard, so we get some good, strong movement. And as long as there is enough liquidity, then the big boys are going to be interested in it. But if it's like, if it, excuse me, if it's like the agriculturals or something, the big guys aren't that interested in it. So we'll see. I expect that it's going to be fun. Well, try what we're doing. Maybe you'll find some level of comfort. And then when we're ready for Bitcoin, you'll be ready. All right, well, let's call it a day. I'm glad you guys all came to hang out with us this afternoon. Excuse me. I hope it was a little bit enlightening, and you want to learn more about us, or you're ready to get going. I think a lot of you, several of you here, I know, you just wanted to see this last presentation before you go ahead and upgrade to the VIP, or maybe you want to wait till Saturday. That's fine. It's going to be basically more of the same on Saturday, but with a little bit more detail. Contact us if you have any questions or any particular issues you want to work through as far as how to pay for things. Talk to Lisa or Connor. They'll be happy to help you. That's not right. Oh yeah, I guess that'll work. You can move it from there. Bunt at the intentional trader or support at the intentional trader. Guess it goes to the same place now. Well, I hope your expectations are realistic, and then I'm feel sure that we can meet them. But one of your what you might not be expecting is for me to shake you by the collar and say you need to stop thinking a certain way. You need to have realistic expectations, but we'll teach you how to do it the right way as long as you keep an open mind. No extra charge for slapping you around. Yeah, Stig can attest to that, right? Did I ever pull any punches with you, Stig? And look, he's still here. I had to get tough with Stig. He's a hard head. Hands off the mouse, Stig. I forgot about that. A long time ago, I'd see a setup coming up, and I would know that Stig was about to trade it, and he shouldn't be. And so I'd get on the microphone, Stig, take your hands off the mouse. That was funny. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your evening, and hope to see you all very soon, either in the trade room with us or at the very least on Saturday. Bring your questions. All right, have a good evening. Bye-bye.